been asking for this all year, like exactly how do you guys do it? Because not everyone's been watching Dumb Money from January, February 2020. They keep hearing us talking about, wow, we're up 5, we're up 10, we're up 15, we're up 20 now. Like how did you guys do that?
2020. What a year. A year unlike any other. It's a statement that is certainly true for our brokerage account balances. Collectively, the three of us somehow managed to make more than $25 million. Today, the top 10 list, it's pretty much a mix of everything, shows everyone exactly what worked best for the three of us this year. So we're going to kick it off at number 10, resulting in a $287,000 profit. The Container Store, when Netflix debuted a blowout hit show called Get Organized with the home edit featuring Joanna and Clea, the professional home organizers who happen to have a line of products available at the Container Store. Show was basically an infomercial for the Container Store, and the Container Store is a publicly traded company. So that did very well for us.
I regret not going in bigger on this one, guys. This should be a top 5 trade for us, not a top 10 trade. I truly regret not going in bigger. But how much did we make, Dave, on this?
I made $100,000, and it looks like our total was, we're not even counting Jordan's money in any of this. Nope. So between you and me, it was $287,000.
Like, who knew that listening to Jordan's wife would be so profitable? Jordan, I want to thank you and your family for this trade. I know, by the way, the Dumb Money community was on it. They were on it early, but like they're on a lot of stuff, and Jordan really helped raise the bar of this one. He's like, guys, Adrian, we owe it all to you, okay? You made us $250,000.
Well, she helped me surface it, but then once she surfaced it to me, I went and read Discord, and it turned out that our community was all over this one and had been talking about it for weeks, maybe even a month before I'd even heard about it.
Could you imagine if we would have gotten in on this trade when the Discord community was in on the trade? Yeah. We would have probably made close to $1 million on this trade a few weeks earlier. Just a few weeks.
Coming in at number 9, a $373,000 gain for us, and something that we have barely tiptoed into, the world of crypto. Chris is in a fund that manages crypto. I'm in Bitcoin and Ethereum directly. How did we do this well in something we know so little about?
This was the best FOMO trade I have ever made because I don't really care about crypto. I know people on our channel are going to hate me for saying that. I don't fully grasp the underlying thesis that's been put out there for crypto, but that's okay. This is a great example of you don't have to believe in something personally to trade it. I did observe the fact that there was a tremendous amount of cash going in the pockets of a lot of people this year, right? We talked about this with the stimulus, and there are a lot of people that really believe in crypto. And beyond that, when you start to flood the market with fiat money, that is fitting right into the narrative of, well, you can't trust fiat money, but you can trust crypto. And the bottom line is we had a lot of stimulus checks go out, billions, tens of billions, hundreds of billions. I don't know what the number was of cash in your pocket stimulus going out this summer. And I think a lot of people that believe in crypto took that money and they just started buying it up. And that, when crypto starts to move, it starts to move. But how much did we make exactly? It looks like $373,000. $373,000 on a trade that I don't even really look at. I knew I had to have at least a point or two of my portfolio in crypto, right? Like that's my mindset. I'm just going to do it. I don't want to know about it. I'm going to close my eyes and I'm not going to sell it. It could be a roller coaster ride the next 10 or 20 years. I really don't care. Okay. It's just going to sit there because I feel like it's the social arb trade that never really ends because you never quite know the extent to which crypto believers are going to continue to pour into that trade over the next decade. And then their enthusiasm basically spreads to the entire market. It basically will eventually potentially spread to institutions, as we're starting to see it right now, right? And by the way, people that believe in crypto, they have real jobs, right? And the older they get in their careers, the more senior they will be in these institutions that will then start buying crypto for themselves. So like, I don't not fully bought in to the crypto story. I'm not a crypto boy. I'm not a Bitcoin boy. That's not my world. But I can appreciate the movement. It's a generational social arb trade on culture and on youth. Okay, and that's why I'm in it.
Coming in at number 8, more than $400,000 gained so far in the once taboo world of marijuana and magic mushrooms. The legalization of drugs coming in at number 8.
This is a good one, guys. And this one we owe a little bit to Jordan as well. He might not even realize this, but we always, one of the things I always do is float ideas by Jordan. And, he's like even Steven, right? It's really hard to get Jordan excited. But I'm floating this whole shroom investment idea that our Discord community have been talking about for like months, right? And I've been reading about it, and I'm kind of like, honestly, I'm kind of like a believer, like in the way that I'm not necessarily a believer in the underlying thesis long-term of Bitcoin and crypto. I am a believer in the underlying benefit and what this movement towards psychedelics is all about. So I floated this idea by Jordan, and to my shock, he was like, "Oh yeah, let's do this like tomorrow." He's like, "I'm ready for this one." He's like, he had been researching, which makes sense because Jordan, you spend a lot of time. A lot of our viewers don't realize this. You spend a lot of your time researching medical and health. You're like one of the healthiest, knowledgeable people I know when it comes to what you put in your body and how things interact. And I mean, you're always reading books on this stuff, so it's really interesting. Tell us. I mean, have you known about this for a while, or is this a new thing when you recently started researching kind of psychedelics? And
I didn't realize that it was becoming a thing until two things happened. One is that I read about it in Discord, which our people surfaced all this stuff pretty quickly, and then also the election in Washington State, or was it Washington State or Oregon State that decriminalized some of these things? Yeah, I think it was Oregon. And so I think those two things together was like a, just kind of like this perfect storm for, information.
Okay, Dave, can I say that this is not just about psychedelics, though? A big part of this trade for me, it was a $400,000 gain for me, and I honestly got in this trade really late. I got in, I think, late summer, early fall. So I've made 400,000 here just in the last few months. A big part of the trade was cannabis as well, and that was related to our Biden trade, right? We've been talking about this trade all summer, the election trade. It's so important to have a prepared mind when you're a social arb investor. And I think the one thing we did really well, and we'll talk about some of the trades we made, and because they fit into some other categories, but we had a massive Biden portfolio and a massive Trump portfolio based on if we thought Biden was going to win or Trump was going to win. And as we got more conviction that Biden was going to win the election, we started upping the Biden trades, each of us that we like. So part of that Biden trade for me was cannabis. Curaleaf was one of my largest cannabis trades. The stock has done exceptionally well the past few months. I'm also an MJ, cannabis ETF, and a few other cannabis companies. We have an entire episode on our cannabis trades. If you haven't seen it, you must watch our cannabis episode, just like our Shroom Boom episode. So we went deep into each of these fields, but this is a Biden trade, guys. Part of the cannabis trade was a Biden trade, and it doesn't even really matter if you ultimately think that Biden in office is going to ultimately change anything for cannabis the next 4 years. There's a market perception that he will, that the Democratic Party is a benefit to that trade. Totally. So it really doesn't matter what actually happens. What matters is what the market perceives will happen, and running a scenario, being mentally prepared to trade on that scenario. And I kept upping and upping and upping my cannabis positions. The higher my conviction got that Biden was likely to win the election. It was that simple. But I think it's important when we talk about these trades today to talk about what the thesis was, because we're not trading them in the same way as fundamental traders trade them, or momentum traders, or technical traders. We're viewing these trades purely through a social arb lens.
Yep, absolutely.
And that was the cannabis True trade.
And for those of you, those keeping track at home, the stocks that you are in are MJ, Curaleaf, CURLF, CMPS, which is what? What was CMPS? I don't remember.
Don't ask me. I'm so confused right now, Dave.
TCNNF is another one, and MMEDF. That was one of the Shroom Boom stocks. So that, number 8. Number 7 is a $500,000 gain so far in trades that we've made very recently, right as the vaccine was being submitted for approval. It's our investment in the Roaring 20s. We knew that things were coming back. We've talked about the Roaring 20s long before a vaccine was even, I mean, they were dreaming of it, but long before they actually had something that was 95% effective.
Dave, can we give ourselves a little pat on the back? Do you realize that there are articles now and everyone's talking about the Roaring 20s? People have been contacting me from all over the country going, they're stealing your Roaring 20s idea. Like all of a sudden, the last
I mean, it wasn't that original. We already had a Roaring 20s. It just kind of seemed natural, but I think that we are going to have a Roaring 20s unlike anything we've ever seen.
And it's not just articles, Chris. I was watching CNBC the other day, and one of the people that they had on was talking about the Roaring 20s and how it happened because of the pandemic of, the 18s or 1819. And so he was trying to draw conclusions the same way. And it's 100% what you were saying.
And what we're talking about, these are kind of bounce back stocks. These, for me, it's airlines. I'm in Spirit and American and Sabre, the booking back end. I'm in hotels. Specifically Marriott. I also have a big position in Airbnb. I got into casinos again, Wynn, LVS, Caesars, the cruise lines, Carnival, Norwegian I added. I still have my Royal Caribbean call options because cruisers got a cruise.
But I'm not a cruiser, but I do know the cruiser mindset. And I'm telling you right now today, you've heard it here. Cruisers are gonna cruise.
People thought we were insane. I would get on the phone with guys that I'm still friends with on Wall Street, and I vividly recall they were like, "What are you thinking about?" I'm like, "I'm thinking about the Roaring 2020s. I'm thinking about how insane it's going to be next year and the year later and the year later." And this is when we were still falling into the dark hole of wave 1, and the whole world was falling apart. And they're like, "How are you thinking about that now?" I'm like, "Because it's only a year and a half away. This is the trade. I have to think about it now." And we have been preparing our minds since March to make this trade.
And we were actually a little late getting back in. So I was in some casinos early, but I didn't get back in heavy until that 95% number came out and everything roared up. I was late, but I was prepared and knew what I was going to do and got into that handful of the travel stocks. It was all about having a prepared mind, and we haven't even bounced back yet, and we're already up $500,000. Moving on to number 6, more than $534,000 in one of our favorite collab stocks, Clog Collabs to be exact. Our number 6 trade this year, a shoe so ugly it's cool, Crocs. I still can't believe that we made this much money in rubber shoes. It doesn't make any sense.
Better?
But we make money in this. We do this time and time again. Crocs is one of those stocks that they keep coming out with a new collab, and it moves the stock every time. You would think that people would learn and just buy it up, and it's crazy.
So basically, the thesis here was that, for a long time, we would trade Crocs based on a single event, like a single celeb collab or single Crocs that would come out and get hot. Finally, the Crocs investment transition from a bunch of small social arb trades that we would get in and out of to a point where I was like, you know what? This company has mastered the collab. They have mastered the collab.
Oh, they certainly have. And that's kind of all that I think about when I think of Crocs is what other brand is going to do something with them.
But Dave, that's the whole point. At a certain point, we were like, you know what? I bet you they have collabs planned out for the next 2 years. So rather than try to pop in and out of them, this has become a long-term social arb trade. I have so much faith that Crocs is going to continue to slam these collabs every 60 days for the next 2 years. And the market is so underappreciating their ability to do so. And the coolness factor that that's going to bring to that brand, even as we come out of the pandemic. And by the way, Crocs are like a happy brand, right? They're colorful, they're stupid, they're happy. What are we going to do next year? Go to beaches, right? Everyone's going to be at the beach. They're going to be like traveling and stuff like that. Get some more Crocs. They win in the pandemic. They win after the pandemic. You can't lose when the entire world thinks this stupid thing has become the coolest thing ever. Will Crocs ever go out of style? Maybe.
Did they ever? Yeah, that's a good question.
Like this whole counter style movement with Crocs.
But Jordan, you know what's so funny is that they're now leveraging the collabs to build something that's bigger than the rubber Croc. They're actually building a brand now. They're building a brand that goes into shoes that don't even look like Crocs anymore, right? We have the fur line Crocs. We have boots now made by Crocs. Sure, they all might have some rubber component to them, right? But these things, it's becoming a style thing. They are now a style leader. Who would have thought?
It's celebrities, it's brands, it's everyone wants a piece of Crocs, and it's just out of control.
The whole thing is insane, and it's working, and I freaking love it. I love it. I'm so proud. I can't wait to at some point say that we're up 7 figures in Crocs.
And Crocs for me went from being you play it to being just a core holding. I'm with you on Crocs continuing to have the pipeline of collabs and doing good things, and I still own it and don't have any plans to sell it.
$500,000 on Crocs.